Trump's loss is like the gift that keeps on giving. This next story is an example of that.
Hello, I saw a dead person voting for Joe Biden in Philadelphia. His eyes were glassy, he smelled like a corpse, and he walked up to the check-in table and said, I have awoken from my eternal slumber to feast on the brains of the living and also vote for Joe Biden.
Donald Trump has refused to concede. He has lost his re-election bid, but he doesn't want to admit it. And as a result, his campaign has set up a so-called fraud hotline to collect alleged reports of election fraud. Of course, they've provided no evidence of election fraud. It is an unfounded nonsense accusation that the Trump campaign is using to cover up for the fact that they failed and that they're losers. And so this fraud hotline has now been spammed with people clowning them, prank calls, a lot of fun stuff going on, which we'll give you examples of in just a minute. And as Jonathan Swan from Axios tweeted over the weekend, Trump campaign aides manning the voter fraud hotline described mostly fielding prank calls from lefty teenagers and dealing with some disturbing unsolicited adult images. So we gotta give you some examples. Like we just gave you an example in that cold open, but this next video is fantastic. But before we go to it, I gotta give you this context. Remember that Donald Trump told his supporters to vote twice, to vote by mail and then show up to the polls and vote in person on the day of the election. That's important context for what you're about to hear in this prank call.
You said you had already voted for the national election in Detroit?
Yes.
And you went to the polling location in Kalamazoo for what purpose?
To vote.
I thought you said you had already voted in Detroit.
I did.
So you were going to vote twice?
Yes.
I don't think you're allowed to vote twice.
Why wouldn't I? If the Democrats can do it, why can't I?
Because it's not allowed. It's illegal. That's what we're trying to find what the Democrats are doing to stop them from doing that.
I'm just worried because I saw what happened in Detroit, and so I'm trying my best to help. And I know that, I know some of my family members had been doing it to help Trump out because we care so much, and so I just didn't know. I didn't know what else we could do.
Left flank vets is in that video. That's what that video is. But I just absolutely love it. By the way, we rated them on Twitch the other day because they do great content. So show them some love, Cenk.
Okay. By the way, for the boomers like me, rating on Twitch is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Very good thing.
That means you send your audience over to them. Okay, I love these pranks. So I showed an example of it on Twitter, and people are like, "Oh, so you're encouraging this kind of stuff? Well, we're trying to track down legitimate fraud. I see how you guys are trying to stop us from tracking down very, very legitimate fraud. I mean, we haven't tracked down a single piece of evidence yet, but there's a lot of pics that we're looking through." I bet there is. My favorite, in that video, my favorite was that guy thoroughly finishing the beer he was working on. He didn't.
I know.
He didn't want a drop left in that beer. Good for you, brother. So I like the Bernie placard in the back. There's a lot right with that video. Anyway, so okay, now my favorite thing overall in this story is Eric Trump. Eric Trump, because he's the slowest of the Trumps. Oh, and that is damning.
So he tweeted this. The DNC is spamming our voter fraud hotline to bog down the thousands of complaints we are receiving. Wonder what they have to hide. Wonder what you have to hide. If you're really receiving thousands of calls alleging voter fraud, why don't you share them with us?
Okay.
Right? Like, where are they? Outline the specific allegations. But they haven't been able to because it doesn't exist.
Okay, two things about Eric Trump. So there was a story that came out over the weekend, like different people thinking about how they're gonna talk to Trump and get him out of the bunker and tell him, no, really, you lost. And everybody gets it, but they all have different political strategies. Don Jr.'s thinking of running for something, and so he's angling like, oh no, Dad, I'm with you, even though he knows it's. The only one in the White House who doesn't get it is Eric. Because he's Beavis. So he's like, yeah, can you believe the abuse and fraud that they did? And everybody's like, oh, Eric thinks it's real. Oh, Jesus. Okay, it's awesome. Anyway, so then he comes out and does this tweet. Hey, Eric, the DNC does not need to tell people on TikTok or anywhere else to do prank calls for you. And the DNC, as much as I loathe them at different times for being corporate consultant filled, organization, they are professionals. They're not gonna go around being like, hey guys, you wanna prank Trump people? No, the reason you think they might do that is because that's what you would do. Your family is so stupid. They'd be like, okay, how should we spend the couple of days after the election? Prank calling the Democrats, right? Okay, and your tweet, dude, got more prank calls than anything that the DNC or anyone else has ever done. When you go again, hey guys, can you stop prank calling us? All you're gonna get is more prank calls. You idiot. So TikTok, 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 incoming because of the tweet alone.
It's so amazing. Just a few more examples. One woman said that she met the devil at her Georgia polling place, and he called, and he challenged her to a fiddle contest. When she lost, Mr. Biden would win. Sports writer Jeff Pearlman simply recounted the elaborate plot of the sitcom Different Strokes. Alex Hirsch, creator of the Disney Channel TV show Gravity Falls, called in to report that he saw a man matching the description of McDonald's Hamburglar walk into a polling place wearing a black hat, black mask, a striped shirt, and a red tie. And I believe there were hamburgers in his bag. And he was saying, "Robble, robble," as he was exiting the building, Hirsch added, like a burglar, I think he's probably Antifa.
Well,
it just keeps getting better and better.
But Anna, it really isn't that much different than Steven Crowder's theory or any of the Sharpie Gate, etc. So Crowder's a right-wing nut job on YouTube, and he's like, there was a wagon, we saw a wagon. The only thing he left out was that it was filled with burgers, right? If he'd said that part, Donald Trump probably would have been even more interested. So there's a fine line between the pranks and what Republicans are actually saying. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.